Hello everyone. So a few days ago, Slitherine, a developer that I closely follow, had their usual Next Fest. This is where they showcase new titles, upcoming ones, and some news around all the titles that they work with, including some pretty exciting news about Warhammer Blood Bowl. So this is the next evolution of Blood Bowl as a video game. I watched the reveals alongside my community on Twitch when this was happening, and Slitherine themselves have asked me which were my favorite reveals and if I wouldn't mind talking about them in a video. So this video is sponsored by our friends at Slitherine. Let's just jump right in. We'll start off with a game that's already been released. Nightmare Frontier is a tactical extraction looter, the first of its kind apparently. Your goal is to lead a crew of scavengers, fight a horrifying amount of monstrosities, and then take as much loot as you can. It's set in the 1900s in an alternate timeline, of course, where you'll be able to upgrade your characters, but they'll also have fears, and these fears will determine your gameplay. Is your character afraid of spiders? Well, maybe a spider pops up with multiple guns. Are you afraid of fire? Maybe they'll start to see some creatures on fire. What's really interesting about this is that while your fears could be a malice at the beginning, you can learn on how to use them effectively. If you're scared of kind of tree-based monsters and there's fire in the area, you can throw them in there, teaching you how to conquer your character's fears and to form the perfect looting team. So this game released in July of 2026. There are some planned hotfixes and quality of life improvements already, and they've got plans for a console release alongside betas for their upcoming DLC. During Slitherine Next, the devs talked about their vision of the title and how they wanted to see how players interact with the different class options and the upgrade paths alongside all the different items and using the fears against the enemy. Right, this is a brand new game called Veil of Ashes. It was just revealed during the Next Fest and it looks pretty cool. This is a real-time tactics game, and it focuses quite heavily on tanks from what I can see. Well, loads of vehicles, but the tanks just look freaking awesome. It gives me kind of Trench Crusade vibes. Originally, I thought it was going to be a Trench Crusade game, actually. Yeah, we can see flyers, we can see infantry troopers, and also the very cool tanks. There are going to be maps based on multiplayer and also single skirmish player matches, which I'm really excited about. It looks pretty interesting, honestly. The tanks, I don't know why I keep gravitating towards it, but it's really cool. It is really interesting. Obviously, we're going to have to wait until some big news comes out on it because it's still very early. You can still wishlist it right now. But definitely a game that you will want to check out if you want real-time tactics with steampunk vibes. Next, a DLC has been announced for a game that I very much like. So, Terminator Dark Fate has a new DLC coming called Defiance Evolution. This one is going to focus on a brand new story where you'll be leading Lieutenant Church into the territories of Canada. You'll be searching for some new allies and also fighting some brand new enemies. There's going to be some melee-focused Terminators, which have some pretty cool vibes. It's an 8-campaign mission. There's a ton of new units because you're going to be able to get humans enhanced with early augmentation tech. And the DLC isn't going to be too far away. The plan is to be out in September, with beta signups already happening now so you can fight against the Rippers. Alright, so we're jumping into the tabletop portion, I guess. So, Bolt Action is a game that I'm very much looking forward to. As you guys are aware, tabletop games to PC are becoming very common, and obviously Bolt Action is very well known. It's a very different style to that of Warhammer, for example, even though a lot of former GW devs are actually, well, behind the Bolt Action title. Bolt Action is going to focus around World War II, and you've got a lot of different factions to play around with. It's very tactical and focuses on a lot more randomness, I'd say, than Warhammer, considering that you've got a lot more shooting. Think of this very similar to that of like 7th edition Warhammer 40,000. Armor values kind of take effect, especially when you're coming through the flank or the rear in terms of a chassis for a tank. I have actually played Bolt Action on the tabletop, and it is really, really fun. There's so much tactical shooting about it, and it looks like that's going to be covered really well here. There's a lot of cover fire. It's a very strong interpretation, it seems. I'm very curious to see how everything comes in. I've not had a lot of chance to play Bolt Action on the tabletop very recently because I have been quite, well, busy, you know, with the move and the rest, and I still need to find out if my local community actually supports that. But being able to play that on PC, yeah, that's going to be great. There's a lot of factions, and I don't know how much they're going to introduce at the beginning. Likely a bit of a slow pace at the beginning just to kind of get there. As you can see, it's turn-based as per usual. This is a tabletop-inspired title, and you're going to be able to move around more with squares rather than inches and stuff, which I think is going to be easier for a tabletop interpretation. Obviously, it's a lot more different here, but the gameplay looks very good. Of course, everything that you're seeing right now is work in progress, so things can be subject to change. But as a person who had two forces, one of the United States and one of the Germans, I'm pretty excited to see this being interpreted as a PC game. I mean, this is going to be awesome. Hopefully it won't be too long until we start to get some more news, but so far, very optimistic. You can still wishlist this game right now, though. And finally, we have to talk about Blood Bowl. So this one, there's been a lot of confusion around the community about it, because obviously Blood Bowl 3 came out, some problems happened, not a lot kind of carried on. Stuff is not moving as quickly as people expected. But Blood Bowl is now being helmed with Slitherine at the table there, which is good to see, as obviously we've seen many Warhammer titles on the Slitherine at this point, and they've always treated it with a lot of care and respect that it deserves. So there was news that essentially Blood Bowl 3 was going to end and it was going to become Warhammer Blood Bowl. And this is where it's going to go from now on. It's been delayed ever so slightly, as you can imagine, because, well, it was supposed to release in spring 2026, but, you know, the title's changed hands, and not only that, they were going to start looking at how to improve Blood Bowl as an experience. So what's going to happen is it's going to release a little bit later down this year, and it's going to have all the factions that you're kind of used to, plus the Tomb Kings and the Bretonnians, because, for those not aware, Blood Bowl on the tabletop just recently got a brand new edition to fix up all the issues and also finally reimagine the Tomb Kings and Bretonnians to give it that extra push and, well, make it just more compliant with how Warhammer needs to evolve, as, you know, it's becoming ever so popular. Slitherine went into heavy detail regarding this in their announcement, where, you know, factions currently available for purchase with Warpstone will become DLCs, but you can still use your Warpstone right now to buy the factions if you want to. It's just they want to make that more of a cosmetic thing for Warhammer Blood Bowl. The Rumble mode that we've already been able to see is going to be available. Loads of modes are going to be transferable, with also the big push on just making this a more long-lasting game. And this is a free upgrade for Blood Bowl 3 owners, meaning that if you've got Blood Bowl 3 or you've managed to pick it up on a sale or whatever, you'll get Warhammer Blood Bowl without an issue. So this is really good, and it's good transparency. They're basically trying to build up the IP in its digital form once again, because yeah, there were some issues. Even I can admit there was quite a lot of issues. So I'm happy that Slitherine are jumping into it. They're going to be doing a brand new World Championship, which will run from December to February, which is more or less expected when Warhammer Blood Bowl will probably be releasing. I have no information on that just yet, and they usually don't tell me that this type of stuff until a little bit later on. This is very exciting. As someone who actually has the Blood Bowl box and has been meaning to jump in, the video game actually kind of helped me plan out some stuff. I'm really happy to see a revival of this IP. Slitherine have been doing wonderful work with Warhammer. I've said this in the past. Hopefully they'll get some others in too, because yeah, there's a few IPs which are kind of missing at the moment, you know, kind of like dead in the water. And I believe Slitherine could revive them quite well. But these were my top 5 picks for Slytherine's recent announcements. What were yours? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And once again, thank you to Slitherine for sponsoring this video. I very much appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. I do apologize for the lack of videos recently. I have been preparing some stuff, and yeah, the pipe burst in the house. It was interesting. See you guys. Have a good one.